The challenge is compelling. The distance, daunting. The emotion, everlasting. The finish, fierce. The cycling circulates many majestic miles, as artistic as the museum it prominently passes in parade. From highways to hills, history is heightened, as legacies loom, while battles beckon and competition calls. It's the 28th edition of the 2012 TD Bank Philadelphia International Cycling Championship, a citywide event that draws together every year spectators, volunteers, sponsors, and civic workers, all working together to create one of the great races of the world.
A great day in Philadelphia that this city has embraced over the years, unlike any other one-day race in America, and has brought riders from around the world once again today.
And it is most certainly a high-level race, one of only 3 races in all of the United States that have what's called a point HC, or category, highest possible international ranking, and the highest ranked single-day race in all of North America. It's a great day. It's got a list of great champions: Lance Armstrong, Eric Heiden, a tremendous Philadelphia tradition that is here again in front of us. Philadelphia Art Museum, Manayunk, Lemon Hill, Strawberry Meadows, the iconic stops on this race course that have enthralled an entire generation of fans and Philadelphians and people outside of the area who've grown up loving this event.
And that's why this race is so well known. All those things you just mentioned, it has made this race course the most famous road course in America. 28th year this year, and far and wide across this great country, as well as around Europe, all the other riders who have come from around the world. They know this course mostly because of the Manayunk Wall, but you can't forget the other iconic things around on this course.
And especially the Benjamin Franklin Parkway, quite possibly the most beautiful finishing straight of any race in the world, and I dare say every bit as beautiful as the finish of the Tour de France in the Champs-Élysées.
Yeah, right between the Philadelphia Museum of Art and the City Council. It's a fabulous setting for the guys, and they're all very familiar with it. A long straightaway into the finish often will be settled by a bunch finish, but today I wonder if we might see a breakaway in the men's race succeed. We haven't seen that in a long time.
We have not, and this year it's quite a possibility. There have been some changes in the event that we'll go into a bit later in the program, but a different race, a more dynamic race, and a very exciting one. And one more point about this event. Of all the races in the world, to have a major world event within the confines of a great city, there are very few. Paris does it. The Olympics will happen in London in a course like this. But only Philadelphia and Paris, of all the major cities in the world, have had year after year after year a great international event like this in the city.
Now, that's one of the things I love about this race, John, is the way that Philadelphians and the region have embraced this event. That's why the riders like it. And I'm glad I'm retired now, but that's what's made it a great race.
Welcome, everyone. Hello, I'm John Eustace, your host for tonight and today. And here with me is Todd Gogolski, cycling analyst. And Todd, we have quite an event approaching us right now today.
That's a big day in the saddle for the guys. They're pretty familiar with it, most of them. The race has been shortened a little bit from 156 miles down to 125 miles. So we think that's going to make things a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more dynamic, and maybe allow a breakaway also to stay away late in the race.
No, I think it's a great development, more of an American-style race, certainly a showcase for the American professional racing class. And we're going back to the roots of the sport this year, and I think it's a tremendous development for the overall event.
Well, maybe it harkens back a little bit to your 2 national championships yourself. Slightly different type of racing, a little bit shorter distance overall. Maybe it will make it more competitive. I think that the race is wide open this year as well. The men's race in particular, no clear favorite in my book. Yeah, there are probably half a dozen guys that would be all sort of on par, but this one's wide open all the way to the end.
Well, one thing that has never changed has been the actual race course of the event. It's been an iconic course that has been known all over the world, and here it begins with a couple opening 3 laps around Logan Circle and Aikens Oval. They do that 3 times in the beginning before they all start sprinting out towards the Manayunk Wall, down Kelly Drive. And Todd, the area of Manayunk and along the wonderful Schuylkill River here has been your point of glory in your career, the 1991 King of the Wall. And Todd, take us up the wall.
Well, the wall there is much easier to look at like this than when you're on your bike. It's 17% maximum over the top. You then head right on back down. The fall from the wall, 50 miles an hour. They get back to the Schuylkill River on Kelly Drive, very flat, wide open. Then over by Strawberry Mansion, a little climb, back down, up again Lemon Hill. Always a nice crowd on Lemon Hill.
Huge crowd there today.
And then they continue back down, and they hit that part of the course that you said is absolutely spectacular between the City Hall and the Philadelphia Museum of Art for 5 closing circuits that include Lemon Hill every time. So they have shortened the big laps from 10 down to 7, and they've added 2 smaller laps at the end. So there are now 5 finishing circuits here at 3.5 miles each.
It's going to be a spectacular show for all those fans. You can see them there lined up on Lemon Hill. Well, the action's fast and furious, and we'll be back with it after these messages from our sponsors. Please stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. The race lost one of its founders, Jerry Casale Jr., but he was much more than just the race, Jerry. He was a great Philadelphian. The Casale family, a great Philadelphia family, had one of the great bicycle shops in history in Chestnut Hill. And Jerry's legacy, besides the race, is all the young people that he guided, taught to work, taught to ride bikes, and set out into the world. I grew up in his basement in that bike shop. I got to tell you, he's sorely, sorely missed.
John, I'm really sorry to hear that. Obviously, he changed your life, didn't he?
So many people's lives. Jerry was such an influence. The family was such an influence, and this race is just a bit of what he did in the world.
He lives on in this race, obviously. Jerry was a man loved by everybody that seemed to know him, although he was not a flashy guy, was he? He was behind the scenes just making it happen as a technical director.
He was a mensch. He taught you how to live your life. But Jerry would love the race. He loved the racing, and back to the racing in his memory. And here we have the peloton all together, racing round Aikens Oval, past the Art Museum, getting ready to go out towards Manayunk Wall. And what's interesting about this race is when it began, the idea of it began in 1981 at the World Championships in Prague, Czechoslovakia, and Jerry was there and saw the worlds. I was actually riding those worlds. It was myself, Greg LeMond, Jonathan Boyer, and George Mount. We were the original pros. And Jerry saw that and said, we're going to bring the worlds to Philadelphia. And this is what we have here in a beautiful, beautiful setting. Spectacular event, big field, an American-style race, and of course, the attacking, as always, carrying on this race characterized by aggression, by the fact that in the Keystone State, this has been the keystone race of the American professional racing class, the race that launched so many careers. Your career as King of the Mountain. You've got to say, Todd, with this race, what did this mean to you, this race?
It was a huge race. It was my favorite race on the calendar every year. In fact, of all the races I did around the world, I looked forward to Philadelphia more than any other. And, you know, this is very typical what we're seeing right now. Everybody in this peloton, they want to try and get in the breakaway today. They know that there is a chance that the break might actually stick today and make it all the way to the line. So this is going to be a vicious battle in this bike race for guys to get in the break. Another Exergy rider attacking there in the multicolored jersey at the front. But everybody knows today the race is a little shorter than it's been in the past. It's 125 miles instead of 156. And it seems to be a more balanced field this year. So this breakaway, when it ever does get established, could make it to the line and contest the winner of the race.
It's a very interesting race this year. You see it all strung out, big, long, beautiful peloton. And for those who are new to cycling, when you see them sprinting away, what they're actually trying to do is shake others out of their slipstream. It's as though a NASCAR racing car like hit the accelerator to shove someone out of their slipstream. Same exact technique. And they're all lined up, going fast. The race is quite quick today. And we're going to see action nonstop, a real American-style race, back to the roots of the event. The event was conceived with the idea of developing the American professional racing class. I think it's been extraordinarily important. It's not only myself who thinks that way. And we're going to see that again today. The American class really up front shining, showing what they can do in terms of entertaining and providing great imagery for the public.
And some of the best careers in American cycling were launched in this race. Guys like Lance Armstrong, a former winner, was one of the milestone riders of this race. Eric Heiden, the 5-time gold medalist in speed skating, won this race in its first edition in '85. And I want to go back to that point you made about the riders following in the slipstream. They're going about 30 miles an hour right now. The guy on the front is working 1/3 harder than the guy in his slipstream. So just think about it. If you were running next to somebody and you were running flat out and you were the same ability, and yet you could get behind him and save 1/3, it's massive. It's what all the tactical battles in bike racing revolve around, is the drafting effect. And opening up that gap and then looking and see who you're with. And there goes another attack, and that one was Team Type 1, Santa Fe. So you establish a gap, you look and see who comes with you. If it's good for your team, you go. If it's bad for your team, you sit on. And it just keeps going like that until something finally can get away.
And there's the beautiful pageantry of the professional bike race, passing by the feed zones, the pit stops for the riders, so they pick up food, and they start to race down towards the end of the Kelly Drive and the Manayunk Wall. Well, there's more than just a men's race here. We also have a tremendous world-class women's race. And as we approach the women, here they are coming up, last time up Lemon Hill. Who's going to be the winner? A full field, Todd. We'll find out when we come back after these messages. Welcome back to the women's race, the 2012 Liberty Classic. The reigning world champion and last year's winner, Bronzini, on the starting line, as well as 4-time winner Ina Teutenberg. The climb up the Manayunk Wall, the Specialized Lululemon team forcing the pace on there for their big sprinter. And there we come into the lead out, the finish of the race. Lululemon with Evelyn Stevens forcing out the peloton. But Todd, there's the finish.
Ina Teutenberg on the front, the German national champion. She wasn't here last year, but look at her with the speed. Up the right side, Bronzini, the 2-time defending world champion and last year's winner, taking 3rd, and Rochelle Gilmore there for 2nd, the Australian. So an all-international podium at the women's race.
Excellent. 5-time winner. And now we have a chance, Lisa, to talk to our winner coming up.
Ina, congratulations. What a race. You are a 5-time champion here at the Liberty Classic. First of all, take us through your race today.
I mean, I just had to sit in and let my teammates do the job. I mean, we had a really, really strong team here, so I just trusted them. We knew what to do, and they're perfect. They delivered me to the finish.
The last couple of years, the weather has been a factor. It's been hot. It's been humid. Today seemed perfect. The wind did seem to pick up a little bit towards the end. Was it a factor for you at all?
I think the wind probably made it a bit slower because we were fairly slow going out to Manayunk. It's just such a hard headwind that it's just nobody really tried to attack or do anything. So I think the race got a bit slower through that. Temperatures, I mean, it's a really nice day for Philadelphia. I mean, I had 110 and 95% humidity here before, so today was pleasant, yeah.
You mentioned Manayunk. Let's talk about that Manayunk wall, the infamous wall. Today, 4 times you had to endure it. Take us through that 17% incline.
Yeah, I mean, the main race is actually towards the wall, because the thing is, if you get into the wall under the top 10, it's not easy, but it's easier. You don't have to make up spots. There's never jams up then. So sure. It's a little bit, the race is always towards the wall, and then it's kind of race up there. I mean, I do a bit of mountain attacks there for the mountain sprints, but I mean, I have really, really strong mountain riders, and they kept it under control up there too, so I never really had to worry.
How was the crowd over there?
As good as usual. You know, they are drunk. It's probably a bit later, so they had a couple more hours in front of the race to drink, so I was loud as usual.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and congratulations on an outstanding day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Guys, back to you.
And the results brought to us by Chapman Volkswagen. For the 5th time, Yoko Teutenberg wins in a time of 2 hours, 29 minutes. Rochelle Gilmore from Australia on the wheel comes in 2nd place. Giorgia Bronzini, the current world champion, last year's winner, 3rd place, a whisker behind from Diodora Pastazzara, the Italian and the all-Italian team, making up Queen of the Wall, Kristen McGrath from Exergy 2012. We'll be back with more live men's action when we come back after these messages in a few.
Most Olympic gold medalists with an opportunity to turn pro do so in the same sport. Then there's Eric Heiden, 5 golds, and regarded by most as the greatest speed skater ever. As it turns out, crossing over from one Hall of Fame career to another is as easy as riding a bike. In 1985, he rode to victory in the inaugural Philadelphia professional event.
Oh, this is the biggest win I've ever had in my life, you know. It's the first time I've ridden in national championships, and then to have this at the professional level with all these Europeans here is...
Now back to the live action, entering the first of 5 final laps around the 3.36 Lemon Hill circuit. Going around Logan Circle, we have our leaders, the big New Zealander, the big Kiwi, Clinton Avery, a man who's made his life in Belgium, who's fought his way up the hard way, the traditional way of the Aussies and the English and the Americans, packing his bags, going to Belgium and clawing his way up to a professional career. Now on the new champion system team that's actually a Chinese team, who's very international now. A big man, 6'4", 195 pounds with a powerful sprint. And he is really putting his nose in the wind and showing that he is absolutely a man who deserves to be in front in a big international race. But behind him is a rider who's no secret to being in the front at the end of this race. And Todd, he put on a great ride last year with a 2-minute gap. They've got a lot to go, but take us through our breakaway.
Well, let's look at the other man in this group that's trading pace with Avery, and that is Andres Diaz. He's a Colombian. He's on the left side of the screen at the front. You can see them talking. The man at the back, the Dutchman, Thomas Rabu, he seems to be sitting out poles right now. So the other 2 men are better finishers. Rabu knows that if he goes to the line with these guys and goes, quote, pole for pole with them and puts his face in the wind as much, he's going to have a hard time beating them. And he's got a powerful team, and he doesn't want to end up getting beat. So he's sitting on a little bit right now. These guys came from an earlier breakaway up the wall, and they have been the survivors from that move and had a 3-minute gap at one point. I'm now hearing it's down to 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, up to Rabu, you know, he's throwing in the towel because for me, if he's not working, 2 of those men against an entire field with only a 2-minute gap, it's going to doom that breakaway to failure. Rabu should probably try to go up there and work and give this breakaway a chance to succeed. Not doing it effectively, in my mind, condemns the breakaway. So maybe that's the team tactic. Maybe the team doesn't want that breakaway to go away. Well, they're afraid of Avery and they're afraid of Diaz.
Yeah, well, both of those guys are pretty fast guys. And, you know, if you don't feel like your legs are good enough, remember, when you're up in the break for your team, if you feel like your chances are not good and your teammates back in the bunch are better, well, then that doesn't mean you sit there and drive the breakaway because you hurt your teammates.
Yeah, and the competitive cycling racing team, it's got a very strong roster, and they got a really good, strong sprinter, Cole House. And you're a big fan because you think he's real fast, as well as the seemingly ever NRC National Racing Calendar winning Paco Mancebo. So these riders, this team has got some powerful guns still back in the peloton. Maybe that's the tactic. That's why Rabu is not working.
Well, and sometimes you can play that tactic a little bit, and you can tell the guys that you're with, hey, you know what, the director is telling me not to work. And you can't play that card too many times, because if those guys hear that a few more times, they'll make sure they get rid of you from the breakaway one way or another the next time.
Rabu definitely sitting on there. Do you see how he opens the gap and lets Avery go in there? Hey, that's just bike racing. And the field has got to be approaching as we approach the 4-hour mark. And it's after 4 hours, Todd, that the real men go to the front and the race begins. 4 hours and about 15 miles to go. So about half an hour to go in this bicycle race. And this is when the screws are really going to get turned. And the real tough guys are going to come to the front, and the speeds are going to go ever higher.
Well, one of the things about Cole House, and he's Rabu's teammate back in the bunch for competitive cyclists, is he seems to be a little hot and cold in the sprint. Sometimes he's really fast, and then other times he doesn't really have it. You mentioned Mancebo. Mancebo was actually off the front late in this race last year with Diaz, the man in the break, and with Bruno Langlois, a Canadian. They got caught inside the final couple miles last year. So always you have to be aware when Mancebo's in a bike race. He's done multiple Tours de France, and Vuelta a España is another 3-week race, and he's had multiple top 10 overall finishes as well as top 5 overall finishes in those races. So he's the most experienced professional in this peloton. but he's now riding for that competitive cyclist team in the U.S.
Going by the feed zone is going to be one of the last times that they're allowed to take bottles in this race. Last chance to top off with fuel. On the front of that race, you saw in the blue the team United Healthcare. Now, they are the team on a mission. They are the team widely hailed as the strongest one in the race, and they have a great sprinter in Robert Forster, the German, third last year. But besides Forster, they've got a pile of other fast men, including this really fast young fellow from Connecticut, Jacob Keogh. Yeah. That boy can move, as well as Adrian Hegavari. And an entire lead-out train, Carl Menzies, the big Aussie, known as 10 Menzies, because he's as strong as 10 men. That's his nickname, 10 Menzies. And Boy Van Poppel, they've got every fast man in the country, it seems, on that team. So watch as we get closer to the finish to see more and more of those blue jerseys line up to the front. They had third last year. Mike Tamayo, the team director, has come here to win this year, and he's brought the team to do it.
Yeah, for sure. I talked with Mike a little bit earlier in the bike race just to get his feeling for things. And he says, number one, they're going to ride for whoever is going to be the fastest. And he thinks it's probably Forster, the German sprinter on the team, who was third last year. But it could end up being the American Jake Keogh. Keogh doesn't have as much experience. He's also younger. But he's learning as the seasons go by from Forster. This entire team of United Healthcare guys just got back from the Tour of Belgium. They landed back in the U.S. 5 days ago. So they're over the jet lag. And the Tour of Belgium, hey, let's face it, it's quite good preparation for this race. And look at United Healthcare drilling it up Lemon Hill right now.
Look at them going. Look at that incredible crowd out on Lemon Hill. But tactically, let's take a look at the way this race is playing out. The Champion System team has got their man, Clinton Avery, in front. Now, Clinton's a big, strong boy, and he's forcing United Healthcare to chase. But behind in the field, what Clinton's breakaway is helping is the Champion System sprinter, and they've got some good ones, including last year's 7th place, Matthias Friedemann from Germany, East German. He's a quick man. He thinks he can do much better this year. And they've got, as well as Aaron Kemps, another good lead-out man, William Clark, the Aussie. So they've got a lot of firepower back in the breakaway. So that breakaway that you see right now is forcing United Healthcare to burn some matches, use up some of their riders, chasing down Avery. That could weaken them when the final rush to the line goes.
Absolutely. United Healthcare has been doing the bulk of the chasing since the bigger group got away that our 3 men that are still off the front came from. United Healthcare came into the race probably with the most stacked sprinters team. And so because of that, other teams are saying, look, you got the best sprinters, you got to ride and bring that group back.
But look now, the other pro-continental American team, which is a classification, international ranking classification, Team Type 1, now they're taking up the chase as well on behalf, and they're helping. So they've got a political alliance, if you will, with United Healthcare. Now Team Type 1 and Team United Healthcare working together. Now Team Type 1, they've got two really good sprinters.
Yeah, they got their Russian, Serebrikov, and he is actually very fast. Just won a stage of the Tour of Korea, was relegated after he won one for irregular sprinting. And
little rough play out.
Yeah, basically that means he took somebody into the barricades. Didn't crash them, but he got a little ugly.
Hey,
they also have the Italian Daniele Colli as backup. So those are their 2 main sprinters. But even so that's an Italian and Russian, but they have a Slovenian, Aldo Ino Iljesic, and he's also very good, but he's another sprinter that will be a lead-out guy for those guys.
All right, Team Type 1 on the front, United Healthcare on the front, 3 men out in front. Will they last? We'll find out. More action. We'll be back. Don't go away. It's just heating up. See you in a moment. Welcome back to the live action, the 28th Annual Philadelphia International Championship, the TD Bank race on the streets of Philadelphia. Action heating up. Situation right now, 3 men in front being chased by a combination of 2 teams. You have United Healthcare and Team Type 1 chasing, having a political alliance, trying to chase down 3 men in front. And Todd Gogolski, this race is going to go faster and faster the closer we get to the finish line.
Yeah, well, the last time gap we got, it had come down from 3 minutes to 2 minutes. I have not gotten a later time update on that gap. But you have to think there are so many guys that are fresh in this peloton. They've been able to sit in, get draft, and now they're putting themselves on the front and drilling it. So that gap has got to be coming down, especially because only 2 men up the road are really working.
Now, you've got to take a look. We've talked about the 3 teams in front. We've talked about Team Type 1 and Team United Healthcare. And who are some of the other favorites that can develop an advantage over this current tactical situation. Now, one rider I've talked about before, he's making a comeback. He's kind of long in the tooth. He's 38 years old. But his name is Fast Freddie Rodriguez on the Exergy team. In the recent Tour of California, he was by far the best domestic sprinter, right up there with Peter Sagan and the others. And Freddie, former national champion, former winner of this race, second place in Milano-San Remo, winner in the stage in the Giro d'Italia. He's a man who knows how to win. And right now, I think Fast Freddie is in great shape, licking his chops, and looking for a repeat in Philadelphia. Don't count him out because he's older. He's on the comeback, and he's going great.
Well, and you are pretty high on Freddie, I have to say. Well, he was on the podium at the Amgen Tour of California. Let's look at why this plays into Freddie's hands. He's got Diaz up the road in the breakaway. So his team doesn't have to chase because they're represented in the break. If the break isn't caught, Diaz contests the top three finish. If the break is caught, back in the group, there's Fred Rodriguez sitting in. He's got Carlos Alzate, another Colombian, who's actually shepherding him in the lead out. And look at the peloton, absolutely strung out, single file, United Healthcare on the front.
And Team Type 1, and being on the front like that, forcing through the wind, stretching out this international peloton in this manner means that you're using up energy. You're using up energy that you might need as a team later in the race, in the last lap of the race, to set your sprinter up to the front. And these are how the tactics work in professional bike racing. You put your pawns out there, your rabbits out there, and you force the other teams to use up their energy to chase, and you try to manipulate. Fast Freddie, sitting pretty right now. Don't count him out.
Yeah, it's definitely true that when you put your guys on the front and look at this single file, this is probably just over 30 miles an hour as this entire peloton, virtually single file. Those guys that are chasing down the break right now will be absolutely worthless when it comes time to lead out their sprinters in the last couple of miles. So they're doing their job now, and they're going to have other guys on the team who will fill in. Basically what happens is 3 to go right now, but basically the fastest guys on the teams are used last, so that you have your next fastest guy from your sprinter leading him out, the next fastest guy from that guy leading him out, and that gets the fastest guy into position out of the wind until he launches into his sprint.
It's almost like a rocket. Instead of a booster, you're pulling the rocket up. Each one of the segments of the rocket pulls off as its gas is used up, and you finally have one left, and that's the way it works. Now another team hitting the front.
Spider Tech out of Canada, and these guys have a couple of very fast men. Martin Gilbert, he actually won the U.S. Professional Criterium Championship in his first year with what is now the Optum team, but it was Kelly Benefit Strategies back then, and he was Canadian, so he obviously didn't get the jersey as the national champion. He's very fast. He's won a stage of Missouri before, a now defunct but very big international stage race in Missouri. And they also have Kevin Lacombe in there as backup for that squad. So it's a team with fast guys, and they're on the front trying to bring back that breakaway because they're not represented up the road.
They're not. And they have in the team car driving a great one of the great Canadian athletes of all time, Steve Bauer, 10 days in the yellow jersey of the Tour de France. One of my heroes in the sport, actually, Steve Bauer, and he's created this Canadian team, a pro-continental team that is just going to Europe and really putting it to people. They've also got a great rider on there named Zach Bell, who's a superb track rider, recently third in the Track World Cup. So a lot of speed and power on that. But look at our three heroes in front. Big Clinton Avery, 6'4", 190 pounds, pounding out the rhythm. Rabu just sitting on the back. Tough technical call on Rabu's part, but yeah, obviously team orders.
There you see in the car there for Clinton Avery, that's Ed Beeman. So he'll drive up there. They don't have race radios because only the very highest ranked races in the world allow the riders to use radio communication now. So Beeman goes up, he talks with Avery, gives him the time gaps, gives him a little encouragement, but look at this peloton, it is still single file back there.
And mind you, the race radios are a real point of contention. This is of course, one of the high-ranked races in the world. They're only allowed to use in Pro Tour races now, Tour de France races, and it's a real bone of contention between the teams and the ruling body of the sport, the UCI. The teams want the radios, the UCI doesn't want the radios. The teams feel that they're flying blind, that it's dangerous, and the UCI feels that the riders are being controlled by robots. It's a never-ending conflict within the sport. But right now we have a race without radios, and it sure is turning out to be a great one. Rabu's sitting on the back. the derogatory terms of that wheel sucker, sleigh rider.
Yeah.
And you got to take it. You got to take that abuse when you're on the back, but he's obviously under team orders.
Well, Rabu is a climber. He's not a sprinter. So he won the King of the Mountains competition 2 seasons ago in the 2010 Amgen Tour of California. That tells you something about his style of racing. Diaz on the front. He's not a pure field sprinter. Out of this group, I like Avery for the win if they stay away, but now the gap is down to 130, so it is coming down. The question is, has this field waited too long for other teams to help United Healthcare to bring these guys back?
Well, we'll find out. The gap is coming down, but we got big locomotives in front. Clinton Avery riding out of his skin to get this breakaway going. Don't go away. The action just heating up. We'll be back. Welcome back to the action, a view from the end of the peloton. That's where the boys are suffering, hanging on for dear life, hoping they don't get popped the next time up a Lemon Hill. And back, these are our riders in the front. Big Clinton Avery, look at him chugging along, using the big gear, the big man. Rabu sitting on the back, and Diaz, same position as he was last year, in front of the race on Lemon Hill, trying to hold off a hard-charging peloton. But as the gap goes down, the peloton starts to smell victory. The sprinters teams goes to the front, start to go to the front. Todd, it could be very, very difficult for this breakaway to hold on, but there's always hope.
It is going to be very difficult. There's no doubt about it. If they make it, it will not be by a big margin. They start to smell blood back in the peloton, and it just fuels them on even more. Once again, Rabu doing what he has to do because he's not a fast finisher. He's got to sit on behind these guys, or else they will basically both beat him at the finish line. He knows it, his team knows it, and they know it. So they're just more or less resigned to the fact that he's got to sit on. Diaz on the front, Avery in the middle now, Avery coming around. Avery, by the way, just 3 days ago won a criterium, a short circuit event called Basking Ridge in New Jersey, out of a 3-man breakaway. So they held on to the line, barely made it to the line, and he beat the guys he was with at the finish line. Here he is at a much bigger race, and maybe he can do it again.
Bad luck for that breakaway. They didn't have one other teammate, one other rider in there from one of the teams that had some vision for victory, some desire for victory. Bad luck. They only 2 of them in front. Because you always have to applaud the riders who have the courage to go out there and fight in the wind. It's not futile, because sometimes you make it, often you make it. In this race, we applaud the riders who have the courage to go out there and really show the crowd what they can do and make the racing exciting. So chapeau, as the French would say, to Avery and to Diaz and to Rabu. Well, you're doing what you got to do, bud.
Look at this. Rabu actually in a little bit of trouble. It was actually earlier in the race, they had 5 guys. Diaz drilled it up the wall. This time it is Avery, and he's going over the top of the Lemon Hill there, getting some points for that King of the Wall competition. But honestly, these guys are still moving very fast. And when Diaz drilled it over the wall, he dropped Bobby Lee, who was in the early break of 5. Then they dropped Scott Zwierzanski, the Philadelphia native, for the Optum team more recently, just before we came on with these 3 guys. So that's what we're left with out of a much bigger group that got away the 3rd time up the wall. That was about 25 riders.
So the gap now has got to be somewhere around a minute. Rabu holding on, our 2 men in front forcing along. Looking down again at our list of riders, our list of teams that can do something in this race and bring up the possibilities. There's a team out of Sweden that's been sponsored by actually a small bike shop out of Lambertville, New Jersey, the Pure Energy shop, and also by Teva Respiratory. It's a Philadelphia-based area company that's getting into cycling. So this team has got a tremendous young sprinter. He won a race that I used to organize some years ago called the Univest Grand Prix. His name is Jonas Alstrand. He's only 21 years old. He beat Alessandro Patacchi a couple of weeks ago, one of the great sprinters in the world in a race in Norway. This young kid, he's very Mark Cavendish-like, cocky, sort of brash. The way we like sprinters. Watch this kid if this thing comes down to a big field sprint. But now our men in front, look at Diaz on the front of his cell. Rabu now is getting some orders to go to the front.
Well,
maybe he heard us making fun of him.
Well, you know, maybe he's decided that they're going to get caught, and he wants to make this as hard as possible for the peloton to catch. Avery now sitting out a pull. So if these guys don't work smoothly together, they are going to be toast. And they know that. So right away, Avery's saying, okay, I guess I'll go ahead and go around, close down the gap. They got to work together. If they don't work together, they will not make it in front of the peloton.
He didn't make any friends there, Rabu, with that movement. Well, lots of action still to come. The peloton forging ahead, bearing down on our three heroes. We'll have more action when we come back. Do not go away.
Well, yesterday I had an opportunity to go out on Kelly Drive and ride with Team Optum, presented by Kelly Benefit Strategies. And Scott Zwizinski there, we're just passing him close to the camera. Man here on the front, close to us, Alex Candelario. Cando, the sprinter for the team, as well as Ken Hansen. But we got a little chance to check out the course as they rode a lap with me before they headed out of town a little bit further and really got a little bit of training in to loosen up the legs. This is a team that, if it comes down to a field sprint, they have Ken Hansen, 4th last year. Pretty solid squad this year. Hansen won 2 stages of the Tour of Korea earlier this year, as well as 4 stages of the Tour of Uruguay, and spent time in the leader's jersey in Uruguay. Candelario won a stage in Korea and spent time in the leader's jersey there as well.
Thanks to GoPro, the technology is absolutely astounding. You shoot a bike race from a bike. Back to the action, though. Here we have our 3 men. They're still in front with 2 laps to go of the Lemon Hill circuit. You've got Diaz forcing down the road. You've got Clinton Avery as well. Now, right now, they are hurting so badly. They've been out for hours in front, flying through the wind, plowing through the wind. The field licking their chops. They feel that this break is catchable. They feel that they have riders who can win this race. Obviously, a lot of these teams playing the sprinter card. A lot of these teams obviously feel that they have the speed to beat United Healthcare, to beat Team Type 1, and to beat Fast Freddie Rodriguez. So that's the way they're playing it. We'll see if they were right to gamble on a sprint at the end of this day. But someone's got to win.
You know what? If you can get other teams to do the work for you back in the peloton, then it's better for you, right? So there's always this poker game going on out there to bluff a little bit. Who's going to do the work to close it down? Rabu taking a little bit of a pull. Looks like Diaz punched it through a little bit. Avery now closing it down. When you said they're hurting right now, that's an understatement.
I got to tell you, I would not be happy with Rabu if I were one of those 2 riders.
No.
I mean, why is he working now? Why didn't he work before when they actually had a chance to hold the gap? Now he's working enough to follow up Avery. Avery doesn't know if he's working or not working.
Yeah.
You see the gaps he's giving? Oh, man.
Yeah,
that's not great racing from my perspective. You either sit on and sit on, or you work and you work. You don't sort of halfway, half of this and half of that. And don't mess up the breakaway if they're giving you a free ride. So, I don't know. There'd be some words with him afterwards, but maybe he's tired, maybe he's fatigued, maybe he can't think clearly. But behind here comes Team Type 1. They're charging down. They got this big sprinter, Sabraikov, that they think that he can win. Big, powerful guy. He's not afraid to throw an elbow or a headbutt, is he?
No, he's not at all. We saw that in Korea when he won that one. Well, he crossed the line first and was relegated in one stage for being a little overly aggressive. Team Type 1 really putting the motor down there at the front of the peloton. But our 3 men still hanging on to a lead.
All right, well, they're lining up, the field bearing down, coming back up to Lemon Hill. We're coming back for the finish. Don't miss it. We'll be back. Welcome back. We're going live from here to the finish. Our 3 breakaway men still out in front. You got Rabu working, not working, can't figure it out. But in front, Clinton Avery and Diaz really pushing, igniting this race, creating the excitement that we love to see in Philadelphia. Can they make it? The tension is growing. But Todd, they still have the cars behind them. When you see the Mavic car, when you see the team car behind the breakaway, that means that they have at least 1 minute lead. Because when the lead goes below a minute, that's when they pull the cars out and let the field catch. But now in front, here comes the field all lined up. You still have Team Type 1. I don't see a lot of United Healthcare up in the front. They've used up a lot of energy igniting this chase. But now they've got to be somewhere around a minute, hovering around a minute in back of these riders, and they will really explode as we get closer to the finish, as we're approaching 1 lap to go. Only about 4 to 5 miles left in this bicycle race.
Well, think about the pace differential. When just half an hour ago, the 3 leaders had 3 minutes. The field has been trying to close that down. So they have been absolutely lighting up the streets of Philadelphia, trying to close down that gap and lighting up the Lemon Hill as well. So it's taken its toll on guys who have been doing a lot of chasing back in the field. And hey, maybe this year that break is going to make it all the way to the line. They're on their penultimate lap right now. There's the Philadelphia Museum of Art over to their right. When they come around, it will be one more lap at just over 3.5 miles.
You got to talk about these two riders who are doing all the work here. Diaz with the Exergy team. Exergy, a company that's come into cycling and really invested. The great women's tour that Evelyn Stevens from Lululemon Specialized just won. It's a team that's seen the value. It's a company that's seen the value in cycling and having great success with it, as well as Champion System. The clothing manufacturer out of China revolutionized cycling clothing, and now this is a Chinese-based team with the idea of creating great Chinese cycling. They brought in these great internationals to teach the Chinese riders how to race, and that's what Clinton Avery's doing. He's showing them, this is how you do it, mate. You go into the front, but in the back, now you've got United Healthcare back on the front, trying to close down this breakaway, but there are only two of them. And we don't see a tremendous amount of cooperation back in that field. You got two United Healthcare in the front. We're getting close to the finish. We got to have the rest of them must be organizing back in the peloton, trying to get their sprinters up to the front.
They're fairly close, though, if you look at that gap, because it wasn't long ago we saw the three breakaway riders going next to the Philadelphia Museum of Art, which is now in the rearview mirror of the pack. So that gap has come down significantly. It's well under 1.5 minutes at this point. Avery on the front. His director is an American, Ed Beeman. Spider Tech now here, drilling it there for Martin Gilbert, the Canadian. So a lot of guys in that field still think they have a field sprinter who can win this race if they can bring back this breakaway group.
Do you really think that Spider Tech has got a sprinter that can beat Forrester, the combination of Forrester and Keogh?
I think that Forrester, Keogh, Van Poppel is the fastest group of guys from one team, but you know how it is. It's 125 miles. At the end of the day, you don't know who's got the legs, who's been eating properly, drinking properly, staying out of the wind, and who still has the goods.
Because the question is, why should Spider Tech even help them if they have the better sprinters? Why don't they just let that team die in the front?
Well, and that's always a good question, and I think what this tells me, they don't think that United Healthcare can bring it back if they don't help.
Maybe United Healthcare really burned their matches, as we say, trying to...
Diaz has gone solo.
There he goes, yeah, Diaz so strong, so strong. He smells weakness behind Avery, chasing, trying to close the gap. That Diaz has got a motor. Great Colombian rider. Oh, here comes Rabu. Here comes Rabu. Rabu dropped Clinton Avery, marshaled his forces, and is now, I've got to say, I've criticized him before, but that's a pretty clever move right there. Well, he kept enough in the sack to get back up to Diaz anyway. Well,
it's a little hard to tell from that camera angle, too. I'm not positive that's Rabu. I don't know if that's Rabu or Avery that made it up there.
That's definitely Rabu. Avery's twice as big. Big man. There's Avery. He's so big, Avery. But there's Diaz, just like he was last year, in front, holding on, trying to hold off the chasing peloton. Look at the face of Rabu. Look at the suffering on his face as he holds on desperately to Diaz, forcing through the wind, flicking his elbow. Now Rabu is working.
He's got to work now.
Now he has to work.
He cannot expect Diaz to tow him around this final lap of the bike race. It is a short lap at only 3.36 miles, but still, he cannot expect Diaz to hold off that peloton. The peloton's starting to bunch up a little bit here. There's some indecision.
Indecision on the part of the peloton. United Healthcare obviously doesn't have the horsepower to pull this thing all the way down, to shut this thing all the way down. The other team's looking around. Someone's got to grab a hold. Otherwise, Diaz and Rabu are going to run away on this race.
Well, let me remind you that Diaz is a 6-time Colombian national champion on the track and a Colombian road champion. So he is definitely the favorite between those two guys, but you never know what's going to happen. And they're into the final lap at this point. And exactly when they went through just moments ago, that was a final 3.6-mile lap. So they have Lemon Hill coming up ahead and then back down to Ben Franklin Parkway.
There's a possibility, there's a chance, and this is why you go on a breakaway. This is why you take the risk, and when people say, why do you do that? You're only going to get caught. Well, sometimes you don't get caught, and maybe this is the case right now. Maybe Diaz and Rabu have figured out how to keep this breakaway going and enough to stay away from the chasing peloton, because right now, all spread out across the road, the peloton. There's no decision. There's no one grabbing this race by the scruff of the neck and deciding that they're going to take control and put their team on the front and take their sprinters up to these two men. This is a rare occurrence in this event. With that powerful a team, with United Healthcare being that strong, they really must have used up a lot of energy in this chase.
Final time, Lemon Hill. Diaz on the front. I was talking with him in California a week ago. He did 3.5 hours training before he did a local race. You know all about that, John. Keeping that deep fitness, and he knew that Philly was going to be hard.
And that's what you have to do if you're a professional bike racer. You just beat your body up sometimes so you can go as endurant as you possibly can, as deep as you can. But right now, coming last time off of Lemon Hill, coming down Rabu, working. Now he's got a chance. He's played his cards very cleverly, you have to say. Clever Dutch bike rider. A Dutchman and a Colombian in front. And now behind, here comes the field, the chasing field, working their way up Lemon Hill, down Lemon Hill rather, chasing behind. The gap not that big right now. So the field in with a chance as we see our ordinary rider. Good thing he didn't jump in the race, but that's part of the Philadelphia crowd. All sorts of interesting bikes and all sorts of interesting people here for the bike race. Now as we get a glimpse behind our two riders, the field seems to be within sight of our two brave riders who've dared to escape in this race, to put their noses in the wind, and to try to go to the finish. We'll have to get another camera angle to see where they are, but right now it looks as though the cards might be up for them, the curtains.
Well, look at the back of the peloton here. Guys have been spit out the back, so it is definitely going flat out. But up in front of this peloton, here they come, and they're going to nail the two guys back. It's going to be a big bunch finish.
All right, so here they come. We'll take it to the 1 kilometer mark, and then Todd, you'll take us home for the finish. So coming up, Kelly drives as they are about to enter the Benjamin Franklin Parkway. Right in front, we see what believed to be the blue jerseys of United Healthcare in the front. They have a tremendous team of sprinters, nothing but fast men on that team. And then a team in the front as well, in the white jersey, taking up the chase. That's got to be Rabu's teammates of the competitive cyclist team. They have a good sprinter in there with Cole House. So now the teams trying to get themselves into position, to line up their sprinters into position. And look at them, all lined up, all stacked up. Right now, it comes down to which team used their energy the most wisely in this race.
And John, now we're into the final kilometer. This thing's all come back together, and once again, it does look like we're going to have another big bunch finish. Several of the competitive cyclist men at the front in white, as well as United Healthcare there in the blue. Those are your top 6 men inside now the final half mile of the race. Up on the right side of the field, here come 3 Team Type 1 men all together as they make a late surge up to the front. And they're still buried just a little bit back. It's going to be hard to make it up to the front. This is Paco Mancebo, the Tour veteran, on the front, so he will not be sprinting, but he's riding for Cole House. A big turn by the Spaniard there. Mancebo now just drilling it as he pulls off. And it is still anybody's race at this point. A little bit of mushrooming, about 12 riders back as guys fighting for position. But it's a long finishing stretch, and that little bit of wind always makes it hard. You don't want to start too early. Now, sitting about 8 wheels back, there is Carlos Alzate and Fred Rodriguez on the right side, and they're bumping elbows. Now the big man from Slovenia up the right side, Team Type 1. Ilicic, he comes up, head down, right in toward the barriers there. He's got Serebryakov on his wheel, the Russian. Coley is there, and look at that, Rodriguez has worked himself up into the top 5, but it looks like it's Serebryakov and Ilicic going 1-2. Unbelievable for Team Type 1, and an exciting finale for those guys. 1-2, unreal. And we'll be back to sort it all out in just a moment.
Now back to the finish. There he is. Alexander Serebryakov launches the sprint. Team Type 1 goes 1, 2, and 4 for a tremendous domination.
Phenomenal job there by the lead-out Ilicic, taking second place, throwing up his arms as well as Serebryakov gets it. And look how close this is. Serebryakov very cleanly in the lead. Ilicic on the far side with his hands off the bars, just barely holding on to second because he's celebrating. Fred Rodriguez in the middle, and on the side closest to us, that's Coley. Those guys were very close. Actually, Coley on the far outside on this shot, but they were very close together.
And our final standings, 25-year-old Alexander Serebrikov in 4 hours, 32 minutes. The Russian wins ahead of his teammate Aldo Ilesic, Slovenia. Freddie Rodriguez, we talked about him, in there for 3rd place at 38 years old. Daniela Coley completing the Team Type 1 triumph in this event. And John Murphy from Team Kenda Type comes in 5th place. Excellent showing by the Americans. And so it's been a tremendous race, Todd. What a great sprint, great call on the event. We're looking forward to more of this next year. We'll see you then.
Well, I got to say that this Team Type 1 squad was incredibly good today. 1st, 2nd, and 4th. I think, honestly, if we look back at the day, United Healthcare did more work than they had horsepower to pull off, and that cost them at the end. These other teams took advantage of them. Both Team Type 1 and Rodriguez for 3rd came in late in the final couple hundred meters and swamped the front of the bike race.
And that's how you win a bike race. You have to use your energy properly and launch at the right moment. Well, it's been a tremendous, tremendous TD Bank Philadelphia International Championship Sprints, action, men, women. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We look to see you next year on the Benjamin Franklin Parkway for one of the great races of the world. See you then in a year. We'll be there too.